The music was loud, the snacks were half-eaten, and a bunch of teens were sitting around a table at a house party just chilling. One girl started talking about how she was trying to count calories, and another pulled out her phone to show this app that tracks your meals. But while one of the girls searched for it, something weird popped up on her screen, an app called Countdown, with a creepy description saying it could tell you exactly when you die. Everyone's mood totally changed for a second. Then one of the guys smirked and said they should turn it into a drinking game. The rule was simple: whoever had the least amount of time left would have to drink everything on the table. Most of them laughed it off and went along with it, except for Courtney. She didn't like the idea.
I'm out. I'm not messing with that. Don't be such a little b****.
But she gave in anyway and hit accept on the app's terms and conditions like the rest of them, thinking it was just a dumb joke. One by one, the countdowns showed up.
63 years. Oh. Mine says 32.
Everyone had a decent countdown, but then Courtney's phone flashed. Her screen said she only had 3 hours to live. Everyone cracked up, teasing her like it was the funniest thing ever, and tells her to drink every cup on the table. But Courtney didn't laugh. She just stared at the screen. Her boyfriend Evan noticed and stepped in, taking her drink and downing it for her, trying to brush it off like nothing mattered.
Look at that. Shivery's not dead.
Later that night, they were walking out to Evan's car. He was clearly drunk and swaying a little. Courtney begged him not to drive and asked him to walk her home instead, but he got annoyed. They argued a bit before she finally gave up, slammed the door, and walked away alone. Evan, frustrated, asks her to get in the car, but Courtney refuses, so he gets angry and drives off without her. As she walked home, Courtney's phone buzzed. A message from the Countdown app popped up. It said she'd broken the user agreement. That didn't even make sense. How could an app track something like that? She looked around. The street was empty, but it suddenly felt off, like someone was behind her. As she continues walking, somebody appears to be following her. Woman should have gone with her boyfriend, but just moments after the guy following her vanishes, some sort of figure appears in front of her. She looks at it and tries to walk away, but then she gets a notification from the app saying she has less than 2 minutes to live. She panicked and ran toward her house as the countdown blared louder and louder from her phone. She shut it off, slammed the door, and rushed to the bathroom. Courtney becomes increasingly paranoid, so she checks the shower curtain. Then she goes to drink some water but hears the curtains move again. She turns around, but something grabs her from above and drops her on the shower, breaking her head. She dies as the countdown timer runs down to 0. Meanwhile, Evan was in a car accident. The passenger's seat, where Courtney was supposed to be, was completely trashed, hinting that Courtney was supposed to die there. The elevator doors slid open and Quinn stepped out, pushing a nurse's cart down the quiet hallway of the hospital. Her shift had just started, and like always, she was already behind. She stopped at a patient's room, only to see his lunch tray untouched. She didn't even have to guess where he'd gone. She made her way to the locked-off wing, where no one really goes unless they're looking for peace. Out on the old balcony, Evan was sitting alone, staring out at nothing. She walked up, sat beside him, tried to keep things light and calm his nerves before surgery. But Evan wasn't in the mood. He pulled out his phone and showed her the Countdown app. It said he had only 19 hours left to live. His voice shook as he told her about it, about how the app predicted the exact time his girlfriend died. He didn't question it for a second, and now he was sure it was his turn. Quinn tried to smile it off and told him not to take it seriously. She helped him back to his room, trying to keep things normal. On the way, Amy stopped them and pulled Quinn aside. What started as a stressful day turned around when the hospital staff surprised her with cake to celebrate passing her nursing exam. For the first time that day, Quinn smiled for real. They all joked around, even about the creepy app. Some of them had heard of it already. They laughed when Scott's countdown showed he had over 50 years left. Dr. Sullivan checked his and noted he had 57 years left. But the laughter didn't last. The door suddenly flew open and a man burst in, carrying a woman who was overdosing. She was barely breathing. The doctor dropped to the floor beside her. Amy shouted for Quinn to grab the emergency drug kit. Quinn rushed to get it and Amy quickly administered the dose. The woman gasped back to life right there on the hospital floor. Later that evening, Quinn finally finished her shift and headed out. Just before she could turn off her phone, an ad for the Countdown app popped up. She hesitated, then quickly downloaded it, typed in her info, and hit accept. The screen loaded for a few seconds, then gave her the result. She only had a little over 2 days left. She started to get nervous, but tried to brush it off, telling herself it was just some dumb app and totally not real. Moments later, the elevator opened and Dr. Sullivan walked in. He started to flirt and smile, but Quinn didn't have the energy for it. She gently turned him down and headed home. That night, she sat at her desk finishing up nursing reports. Everything was almost done except for one thing. She needed info from her birth certificate. She called her friend for help. He told her she had to pull the details directly from the document. But she didn't have it. She knew where to get it though. Quinn drove to her parents' house. It had been a while. She started digging through old paperwork until finally, at the very bottom of a stack, she found it. As she turned around, she heard something move behind her. She opened the closet and found her younger sister Jordan inside, clearly hiding from someone or something. Quinn was shocked, but more annoyed than anything. She scolded Jordan for sneaking around, for acting out. Jordan snapped back, frustrated that Quinn only showed up to lecture her. She said Quinn had barely visited since their mom died and now wanted to act like she cared. Her words stung. Quinn followed her to the bedroom to calm things down. She told Jordan about passing her nursing exam, how she'd been buried in school, and how she just wanted to make their mom proud. Right then, their father came into the room. He looked tired but happy to see her. He hugged her and asked if she wanted to join them to visit their mom's grave sometime soon. Quinn reluctantly agrees. Even sat in his hospital room, staring at his phone like it had cursed him. The screen showed he had less than 3 minutes left to live. He was tired of this countdown nonsense. He knew it was just an app, just code on a screen, but his heart kept pounding louder and louder, like it believed every second was real. He turned away and tried to ignore it, but the phone buzzed again with a warning that he had broken the user agreement. Something felt off. He looked in the mirror and froze. Behind him stood a dark figure, pale still, something not human. But when he spun around, no one was there. The mirror lied, or maybe it didn't. He panicked and ran out of the room, bolting into the stairwell, trying to leave that horrible image behind. But the figure was still there. It followed him through the dark, hollow stairwell, and the air felt heavier with every step. His phone kept buzzing, flashing that countdown. He turned on the flashlight and pointed it down the stairs, but the darkness just swallowed it. There was nothing but silence, until footsteps echoed back at him. He looked up and thought he saw Courtney standing above, but it wasn't her. Whatever it was, it started moving fast. It came right at him. He dropped his phone, and as the countdown reached 0, he tumbled down the stairwell, breaking his neck to death. Not long after, Quinn arrived at work, expecting a normal shift. Amy found her first and broke the news about Evan. He hadn't made it. She felt really bad about hearing it. Quinn remembered the app immediately. She didn't say anything, but her face said enough. She walked to his now empty room. A coworker was already cleaning it out, boxing up his stuff. Quinn asked to handle it herself. She found his phone still locked and knew she'd need his fingerprint. So she went down to the cold basement where his body had been stored. It felt wrong, but she had to know. She pressed his thumb to the phone, but it didn't work. Desperate, she opened his eyelids and used face recognition. The screen unlocked, as she suspected the timer had already hit 0. Just then, Evan's lifeless hand dropped off the gurney and brushed against hers. She gasped and backed away. When she looked again, his head had turned, like he was staring straight at her. She pushed the body back in and shut the door fast. On her way back upstairs, she checked her own phone. The app said she had just under 2 days left, and her death would land at the exact hour she was supposed to meet her dad and sister at their mom's grave. She didn't wait. She called her dad and told him she couldn't make it. As soon as she hung up, the app buzzed again. It showed another user agreement violation. She realized it was watching her but couldn't figure out how. Quinn walked past a room and noticed movement. She turned back but saw nothing. She began to get nervous. Suddenly, Dr. Sullivan jumped out and startled her. She brushed it off, but he asked her to help with a patient. She followed him, but something was wrong with the machine, which made her mood worse. Quinn tried to leave and the doctor stopped her. He put a hand on her shoulder, tried to comfort her, but it felt too weird. Then he pushed it too far. He leaned in close. She pushed him off hard. He mumbled some half apology like it was no big deal. She didn't believe it. She stormed out to find Nurse Amy, ready to tell her what had happened. But before she could even open her mouth, Dr. Sullivan called Amy over. Just like that, the moment was gone. Her phone lit up again. The app wasn't done with her yet. That night, Quinn sat on her bed getting anxious as she tapped at her phone trying to delete the countdown app. It refused to go away. Frustrated and freaked out, she opened her laptop and searched for answers. That's when she stumbled across a video of a girl who had downloaded the app and looked just as scared as Quinn felt. The girl talked fast, saying she had seen things that weren't supposed to exist, like her dead cousin showing up in the middle of the night. The video got glitchy. Then the girl suddenly gasped. Her eyes went towards something off-screen, and the camera dropped as she screamed, and the screen went dark. Quinn stared at the comment section, reading people say it was all fake, just some attention-seeking prank. She let out a breath and shut her laptop, trying to brush it off. But right then, in the dim light of her room, she saw Evan screaming at her. She was petrified by what she saw and quickly turned on the light, and there was nothing. She tried to get out of the room, and at that moment her phone lit up again with another warning from the app. She screamed and smashed the phone hard, but the countdown kept glowing on the cracked screen like nothing happened. Shaken, Quinn grabbed her keys and ran out, jumping into her car and locking the doors. She curled up in the seat, clutching herself, and somewhere between panic and exhaustion, she fell asleep. Morning came with a knock on the window. Jordan stood outside, confused and annoyed. Quinn let her in, and together they headed up to the apartment. Jordan found the busted phone right away and noticed the app. She gasped when she saw Quinn had only one day left. She made fun of it at first, not realizing how serious it was. Then she asked if she could stay over since their dad had left on a last-minute work trip. Quinn said no as she was panicking and trying to figure out what's happening. She just wanted to be alone. Jordan's feelings were hurt and she snapped and stormed off. As the door slammed shut, the app beeped again. Later, at a phone shop, Quinn didn't waste time. She grabbed a brand new phone and SIM card, opens it even before the guy can run her card. She turned it on fast, her hands kind of trembling, and there was no app and no countdown showing up. Finally, she could breathe a little easier, but just as she turned to leave, the screen buzzed again. The same cursed app was back, popping notifications like it had never left. Panic kicked in again. She turned to the shopkeeper and asked how to delete it. He tried and failed. It was stuck. She got mad, snatched the phone and took off. Another customer, who'd been listening nearby, watched her go with a strange look. Quinn got into her car and stared at the new phone, the countdown still ticking. She turned on her rear camera to pull out and spotted something horrifying. A shadowy figure was standing in the back. She spun around fast, but it was gone. She grew wary. Then, out of nowhere, cold fingers grabbed her from behind. She screamed, lost control, and crashed into the car in front of her, tumbling out onto the street. The other driver got out and started yelling at her. But before things got worse, the guy from the phone store stepped in. He told the driver to back off. And strangely, the man did. Then he knelt beside Quinn, pulled out his own phone, and showed her something that gave her the creeps. He had the same app, and he told her he had seen things too. Later that evening, Quinn and the guy from the crash, who finally introduced himself as Matt, found themselves sitting across from each other at a quiet bar. They were still trying to make sense of the Wicket app. Quinn said they needed to find a way to read the user agreement again, just to see what kind of deal they had accidentally made. That was when they noticed a strange guy across the bar, wild-eyed and ranting about how Antarctica was the edge of the flat Earth. He looked like he was out of his mind, but Matt, with this weird idea in his head, told Quinn that maybe they should ask the crazy guy to download the app, just to see what would happen. They approached the man, who didn't even hesitate. He started downloading the app right there. As soon as the terms and conditions page popped up, the guy was ready to accept without reading a word. Quinn grabbed his phone before he could tap accept and started reading.
Wait, are you crazy? You should never accept the terms and conditions without reading them first.
What she found creeped her out. The agreement said users had to accept their fate completely. If they tried to back out of plans because of what the app showed, it would count as breaking the deal. But the wild guy didn't care. He hit accept anyway, and the app told him he'd live until he was 91. That made Quinn even more confused. Trying to get more answers, Quinn and Matt headed back to the hospital. They found a priest and asked him about demons, but the priest just shook his head. He said he didn't really believe in literal demons. He used the term as a metaphor, like inner darkness or fear, and told them to talk to someone who actually studied stuff like this. Just then, Amy showed up and asked Quinn if they could talk in private. Quinn asked Matt to give her a couple of minutes, so he nodded and headed to the restroom. Inside the bathroom, things went sideways for Matt. He locked himself in a stall, but someone kept trying to open the door. When he looked down, he saw bare feet on the other side. Small feet, like a kid's. He quickly left the stall and started washing his hands, but then he heard soft crying coming from behind him. Slowly, he turned toward the sound and saw that same barefoot child again. Except now the kid was just walking straight through the bathroom stalls like the walls weren't even there. It walked all the way to the last stall and stopped. Then the lights flickered and shut off completely. Matt hesitated. Something was wrong, but he couldn't leave without checking. He moved toward the stall, opened the door, and there was nothing inside. But when he turned around, something stood behind him and said his name. He didn't see what it was, but it grabbed him hard. He struggled to breathe. Then the light snapped back on and it vanished like nothing happened. Shaking and sweating, Matt stumbled out of the bathroom, his heart thumping in his chest. While Matt was dealing with that horror, Quinn sat in a conference room across from Amy, a man from HR, and Dr. Sullivan. Things quickly spiraled out of control. Sullivan said she was the one who assaulted him, twisting everything. The HR guy looked serious and said she was getting suspended. Quinn, stunned, tried to explain her side, but Amy cut in, asking why Quinn didn't come to her first. Quinn said Sullivan had taken her to help with a patient during the same time she was trying to explain what had happened. Everyone in the room just looked confused. Quinn couldn't take it anymore. She got up and stormed out, as it was least of her worries. Matt was waiting for her outside, pale and quiet. He didn't tell her what had just happened in the bathroom, but inside his head, he could still hear the voice of that thing whispering his name. They stepped into a quiet old church, still rattled by everything that had happened. They were looking for someone the other priest had told them about, a man who apparently knew more than most. They found him in a dusty office at the back, sitting behind a cluttered desk surrounded by too many books. When Matt asked him if he believed in demons, the man's eyes lit up like a kid hearing his favorite ghost story. The pair explained what was happening to them. The priest leaned forward, caught in the memory of something ancient and strange by what they experienced. He told them about a kingdom long ago that was about to be crushed by war. The king was sick, nearly on his deathbed, and everyone was counting on the crown prince to lead them into battle. But the prince wasn't sure if he'd survive, so he found this old gypsy woman and begged her to tell him his future. The woman handed him a scroll, warning him not to use what it said to save himself. She told him to accept whatever was coming. But when the prince opened it, the scroll said exactly when he would die, down to the hour. Terrified, the coward prince sent his younger brother to fight in his place, but the brother didn't die. In fact, he came back a hero. The prince thought he'd cheated fate, but he was wrong. He went back to the gypsy, panicked, saying he was being followed by something sinister. She told him it wasn't death that was after him, but a demon called Ozin, something much worse. She said it would haunt him until the exact moment on the scroll, no matter how far he ran. The priest leaned back and said the app felt like that scroll, only this time, it was digital. He told them if they wanted to survive, they had to find someone who could break into it. So Matt and Quinn went to Derek, the tech guy from the store. They offered him cash to help. Derek joked for a second but didn't waste time and got to work. When he got into the code, the language was in Latin. Lines and lines of countdowns filled the screen, not just for Quinn and Matt, but for everyone using the app, including Derek himself. Without thinking twice, Derek changed his own countdown. Then, while digging deeper, they found Quinn's sister's timer. Her countdown was almost the same as Quinn's, ticking down by the second. Derek changed it too. Matt and Quinn were outside, thanking Derek as he drove off. And for the first time in days, they finally felt like they had a little control. That night, Quinn didn't want to be alone anymore, so she asked Matt to stay with her. They left all the lights on because they were still scared out of their minds. Matt sat on the bed and opened up about his older brother, the one who had died. He said the thing that attacked him in the bathroom looked like him, and that hit Quinn hard. She told him about her mom, how they'd lost her a few years ago, and how things had been bad between them before she passed. They both curled up in bed, trying to sleep even though their heads were still spinning. But then something changed. The lights cut out with a pop. The room turned pitch black. Quinn heard something moving outside the room. She reached over and tried to shake Matt awake, but what she felt under the covers wasn't Matt at all. It was cold. It didn't move like a person. It was the demon. Quinn was totally freaking out. Suddenly, the real Matt pulled the blankets off her, and just like that, the thing vanished into thin air. But when they looked at the app again, their countdowns were back to where they started. Time was running out again. And then it hit her. Jordan's countdown was even shorter than hers. While everything else was falling apart, Jordan heard her phone ringing from the other room and decided to go get it. The second she picked it up, she felt like someone else was in the room. Her countdown had changed again, and this time it felt even more real, like something was closing in on her. That was when she noticed something strange at the end of the hallway, just outside her door. The lights flickered and then went completely black. She just rushed back into her room and slammed the door shut, trying to catch her breath. But when she turned around, she froze. The door she just closed was wide open again. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Jordan crawled under her bed trying to hide, shaking with fear. Then she heard a soft voice calling her name. It sounded like her mom, calling for her and asking about Quinn. The bed suddenly slid aside like someone had kicked it with full force. Jordan looked to her left and saw her dead mother lying there, clearly furious that her sister was missing. Jordan bolted from the room, ran straight to the front door. And just in time, Quinn and Matt were there. They wasted no time and rushed back to the priest. He studied the app's code again, reading it line by line in Latin, his face growing darker as he worked through the translation. He told them that the app was not just some curse, it was built on a lie, the kind of lie only Satan himself could invent. He said Satan was called the father of lies, and that if someone could prove the app was lying, they might be able to break the curse. His plan was risky but simple. He needed to keep just one person alive past their countdown, and the entire curse would collapse. The priest handed them instructions. He said they had to make a circle out of salt, but not just any salt, blessed salt mixed with paint, and done exactly right. Quinn got to work right away, carefully mixing the salt with thick white paint. They poured it onto the floor and drew a perfect circle. As they worked, the priest stood nearby, whispering prayers to bless the salt. Once the circle was finished, Matt checked his timer. His hands started to shake as the numbers got smaller, but Quinn reached out, held his face, and kissed him to calm him down. Then, the lights snapped off again, and they all jumped inside the circle just as the air went ice cold. The demon was coming. They couldn't see it at first, but they could feel it. The priest kept praying, louder and faster, as the demon moved closer, frustrated that it couldn't break through. Then it appeared just behind them, clawing at the invisible wall of the circle, screeching like it knew it was being tricked. The priest tried to cast it out, shouting every word with all his strength. The demon vanished in an instant, and the app suddenly blasted a noise so loud it felt like their ears would burst. But it wasn't over. Suddenly, Matt saw something roll across the floor. It was just a small toy robot, simple and strange, and somehow only he could see it. Behind it, his dead brother emerged, calm, silent, and not blinking, as if he had been waiting all along. And despite everything Matt knew, he couldn't stop himself from stepping outside the circle. And that was all the demon needed. The moment Matt left the salt, the demon grabbed him and dragged him away. Quinn screamed and chased after him. She ran out of the circle and followed the sound of Matt's voice, but just as she reached him, a car came out of nowhere and slammed into him. His countdown hit 0 as he died. Quinn dropped to her knees beside him, heartbroken, whispering to him that her time might be up soon too. After everything that had happened, Jordan was a mess. She had bruises and scratches, so Quinn rushed her straight to the hospital, hoping to get her safe and checked out. While a doctor treated Jordan, Quinn spotted Dr. Sullivan standing near her sister and walked straight toward him. She thanked him for helping her sister, but deep down she was thinking something else. She wasn't done with him yet. As she leaned in closer, something was brewing in her mind. She had a plan. Jordan, still weak but clear-headed, looked up at Quinn and told her something heavy. She said their mom's death was her fault, but Quinn didn't let her carry that weight. She told her it was nobody's fault. The two sisters finally made peace, and Jordan simply said they'd be together till the end. But Quinn shook her head. She wasn't ready to die. Not yet, because she had a plan. Without wasting time, she headed into Dr. Sullivan's office. She tried to act sweet, saying sorry and pretending she just wanted to make peace. But the doctor wasn't buying it. He asked her what she really wanted. Quinn said she wanted her job back and asked him to meet her in the closed-off hospital wing. A little later, Dr. Sullivan walked into that abandoned part of the hospital, calling out her name. The place was dead quiet, but he found pieces of her clothing lying around like a trap. He had no idea Quinn was watching him from the shadows. And then she hit him hard with a wrench. She tried to inject him with morphine, ready to take him out, but Jordan showed up just in time and stopped her. Before either of them could say anything, the demon came out of nowhere and dragged the doctor away. Quinn, still breathing heavy, told Jordan her plan. She believed if she could kill the doctor before his countdown hit 0, then maybe that would break the curse. She ran off to find him before time ran out. Jordan checked her app and froze. She only had 2 minutes left, and right then, the demon appeared behind her. While Jordan was trapped, Quinn kept searching through the hospital. She heard a sound and turned. Dr. Sullivan had found her first. He knocked her out cold. When she woke up, he was standing over her, ready to finish her. But Quinn wasn't done fighting. She got up and chased him through the halls, not willing to let him escape. Just when she got close, the demon showed up again and slammed her back, giving the doctor the chance to get away. Lying on the floor, breathless, Quinn thought fast. If that plan failed, she had to come up with something else. At the same time, Jordan was running for her life. The demon was chasing her through the halls, and she tried to stay quiet, tried to hide, but her phone betrayed her. The app buzzed and lit up, showing exactly where she was. Suddenly, the demon lunged out of nowhere, grabbed her, and hurled her through a glass window. She hit the ground hard, bleeding and scared, and the demon was crawling closer, ready to kill her. Her countdown was almost done. But right before it could strike, Quinn appeared, holding a syringe filled with a lethal dose of sedatives pressed to her own skin. Her face was calm, but it was clear she meant it. She would end her own life if the demon didn't let her sister go. Jordan begged her to stop. For a second, the demon changed, looking like their mother, to mess with Quinn's head. Quinn looked confused, her hand trembling, but then she snapped out of it, focused, and slammed the plunger. The sedative raced through her bloodstream, and she collapsed on the floor. The demon leaned in and lifted her up, checking to see if she was actually dead. It realized she had died earlier than expected, and the curse was already breaking apart. The demon started shaking like it was glitching out. It screamed, twisted, and then turned into ashes like Thanos. Quinn had done it. She broke the curse. Jordan dropped to her knees, crying over her sister's body. But then she noticed something scribbled on Quinn's arm, which was the name of a drug. A bottle rolled out nearby. She grabbed it fast, filled the syringe, and shot it into Quinn's arm. After a few tense seconds, Quinn gasped and came back to life. Later, Quinn, Jordan, and their dad went to visit their mom's grave. It felt like the nightmare was over, but just as they were about to leave, Quinn's phone buzzed. A new notification popped up on her screen. The beta version of the Countdown app had been installed, and somewhere else, Derek was out on a date with a girl at a restaurant. The date was a mess. She went to the bathroom, clearly annoyed. While Derek sat alone, his phone buzzed. The app was back. It started counting down. The lights flickered. A horrible noise filled the air. Then came Derek's screams.